Now they're gonna drink water. Okay, so we'll try this again. Sorry, it's a little bit delayed. All right, so I see you here. I've just hopped on in my group, and once you see it in the group, then we can sign off from Zoom and try this thing. Oh, and I also need your link again because I closed out that window. Yeah, that'd be great. Okay, here you are. Bring them on camera. It work. It's working!
No!
Yeah!
We did it. We did it. We're geniuses.
We are.
Talk about confidence and resilience.
Wow. That was fun.
Well, I'm sorry that we couldn't be on my page, and we'll find a way. We'll share it in there because I can just download the video. We'll post it in there so other people can see success. Thank you for the encouragement, Heather. So this is my friend Sarah. She's here because we wanted to talk a little bit about a few topics that Sarah is very well versed in, and it's about resilience, it's about confidence, it's about courage, and there's a bit of a history behind this. It's not just, typically when I'm doing Facebook Lives, we talk a lot about business and using our intuition. Today's a little bit different. We're going to talk about how these things relate to us as individuals, but also in our families. So let me know how that sounds. I'm hearing myself on feedback.
Is it because we're in Zoom?
Right.
Should leave out. I'll leave.
There
we go.
Oh, heaven. I'm like, why am I hearing?
We made it.
Really did. So I'm going to hit refresh, and I'm going to post your link in here, and I'll give you a second to do a little bit of introduction. Tell them about who you are, your background, and sort of what's brought you to sort of be here today and talk about this. And really, we're just going to get right into it. So
awesome.
I'll give the mic over to you.
Awesome. So hi everyone, I'm Sarah. I am an Australian, obviously from my accent, but we now live in California as of last year. And so my background is I did a lot of study in psychology and neuroscience, and my husband and I were kind of consulting and teaching corporates and entrepreneurs these types of principles, in particular the concept of resilience, which some people know lots about, other people haven't even heard the word before. It's basically a term about how we bounce back from difficulty and challenge. And so our background was we would go into a business, particularly who was maybe going through a major change, and we would come in and teach them these skills and emotional management and all that kind of stuff so that they could handle going through a challenging time. And one of the things that would always come out at those trainings were people saying, like, I can't believe how much this has helped my life. I wish I knew this when I was younger. And that was just kind of sitting in the back of my mind. And then in my late 20s, I went through one of those huge situations. I know many of you have probably been through something similar that was like life altering. And I got a phone call from my doctor, and he said, you've been diagnosed with cancer. And so, as you could imagine, it was one of those really out-of-body experiences as I kind of went through and had to cope with a really challenging time in life. And luckily for me, and thankfully, like, I was being treated. I've been in remission for 7 years. But I think that experience was such a gift in my life because it woke me up and caused me to realize what was really important in life and what I was spending my money and energy and my time on. And then I think a few years later, when we were allowed, we had our children. So I've got a 5-year-old boy, Jonah, and a 3-year-old girl, Georgia. And it just kind of sparked this thing in me that, like, I think we've got such an awareness now as adults about how to see true aligned success, meaningful, purposeful life, how we overcome difficulties. We're learning these things. There's like this, I feel like there's this conversation and this narrative happening at an adult level, and so many people are saying, I've only just realized this. And so what we're passionate about is helping people help their children with the same types of resources.
So huge. And I think we all knew that as a young child. And I think what it could give us as adults, if we're learning this stuff as children, is invaluable. And I'm really, really honored to have you here. And thank you for sharing your story with us as well. And I see Karen is talking about her own process as well. So, so resilience. So, I mean, certainly getting the cancer diagnosis and fast forward, you're like, it's the best thing that's ever happened. But what in that time frame really got you to change who you were and make those decisions to live your life a little bit more intentionally?
Yeah, so I think for me, even though, you know, from the outside I had quote unquote success, we were doing well in business and we were, you know, helping people and all that sort of stuff. I think on the inside, I had these desires to do more. And I was so paralyzed by the fear of what people would think of me, and worried about.
Pause right there. Is anybody,
Yeah.
I mean, everybody feels that, right?
Yeah.
Everybody who's here, put a 1 in if you feel that crippling feeling about what are other people going to think about me. Put a 1 in. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, I would put about 4 ones into me, because like before I don't know what my life would be like if I hadn't gone through that experience, because I was so, like, I wasn't just scared and doing it anyway. I was just like not doing it anyway. I was so scared, and to the point that I think sometimes you like mentally talk yourself out of things that you really want. You just think, you know, for me, I was telling myself things like, oh, I'll just wait till I'm like got more platform, or I'll wait till I've done more study, or I'll wait till I have more money, or I'll wait till this, I don't know, someone comes along and recognizes that, you know, you should do this thing or whatever.
Right.
And it's
Some
such a
sort
huge
of like
thing.
talent.
Yes. Like all of a sudden you.
Yeah. We see this in you.
Yeah. And yeah, it was just huge. And so I think the thing for me that cancer did was a gift, is that confrontation with your mortality and the confrontation that this could be the end, caused me to feel an emotion that was stronger than that fear, which was regret. And it was this feeling of, if this was the end for me, have I showed up in my life the way that I wanted to? And it's something that you can't describe, other than going through a similar situation, is you really don't care about whether or not what you tried was successful. You cared if you tried. You cared if you gave it a go. And sitting at that confrontation point in my life, it wasn't that I was weighing up like this was successful and that was a failure. It was actually that I was like, I didn't try. Like I didn't get in the game.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it was a gift for me, because it shook me out of that. And the fear of other people's opinions didn't instantly go away, but it was like I had this drive that was a different energy, I suppose, of that context and that clarity that I had from that experience.
Yeah. And I mean, I really consider you somebody who is bringing light to the world, somebody who you're bringing your gifts and you're sharing them to light up others. So I address my tribe as light workers, and we sort of have this title of light. And to some people, the definition is like, well, I don't do any hands-on healing or any of that like woo-woo stuff. But I mean, you've been trained most of your life from your education to really help people. And now you're taken into a whole nother level and you're so purpose driven. And I think that I honestly feel like that's one of my biggest wishes for everybody, is to be able to get to that place where they're solely driven on purpose. Like they want to wake up every day, and it doesn't matter if they fail at something or if they're successful, but they want to give back to other people. And I just see that huge spark and light in you, and
thank you, Emily.
You're welcome. And you give so selflessly. And what you're giving to your children and to future children is remarkable. So I want to talk about, you know, also your inspiration from your son and sort of what you've done to sort of live intentionally and with purpose so that you can help other people.
Love
and I want to book a little bit.
Yeah, of course. So when I became a mother, as many of you know, it was very life-changing, and kind of there's like before motherhood and after motherhood.
Everything else.
But I was given a real gift with my firstborn, and he is highly intelligent. Like, I'm struggling to already keep up with him, and he's 5. Very creative, very empathetic, and he's got a very sensitive, tender heart. And I realized early on 2 things, what a privilege it was to parent a child like that, because I knew that he's going to grow up to be an exceptional human being. But I also felt this weight of responsibility, because I think sensitivity, and I'm sure many of your community can relate to this, when the power that you have to help people, your empathy, your connection, that heart and that spirit in you, it can help people and touch people's hearts more than anything else. But at the same time, there comes this other side of the trait where you can very easily feel other people's negative emotions. You take on more heavily the pain from other people. And oftentimes struggle, like some people struggle with anxious and fearful thinking, because you're just so deeply processing the world. And so it was actually this trait of sensitivity that made me realize the privilege and responsibility. And so it was this thing where I wanted to help him manage this quote unquote negative side of his temperament, which is the anxious, fearful thinking, so that he can bring all of his other talents to the world. And so we've been on a journey with trying to help support him in areas of courage and confidence. And so that's a lot where this first book, our new project, is called Resilient Little Hearts. And the whole idea is to help equip children with resilience, courage, and kindness. And we've just launched our very first children's book. We did a children's book intentionally rather than something else, because many of you know, with young children, stories are one of the best ways to teach children, outside of our own example as a parent. But the whole idea too there is to teach our children principles like how to stand up to your fears, and also redefine what courage looks like. I don't know if any of you are maybe sensitive yourself, or another term, or you're parenting a sensitive child, but it would just make me so angry, because he would come into a situation and he would feel like if someone was in pain, he'd cry, or he'd be cautious in a social situation, and I'd have so many people just label him, oh, he's scared, he's shy, he's timid, and I would just make me so angry, because I'm like, he's not any of those things.
Right.
He's just a deep feeler, and he likes to observe the situation before he goes into it, because I know him in his environment, he's not any of those things.
Right.
Yeah, and so the whole idea with this first book is to kind of redefine that courage isn't the same as fearlessness. Courage isn't about being fast and loud and brazen and I don't care. Hello, dog.
I heard the dog down the street, then I knew he was going to start.
It's actually about how you choose to show up regardless of how you're feeling. And so that's really where we're up to with the first project.
Yeah, I love it. And honestly, I think a lot of us, like light workers, we have children who are very sensitive, and they've chosen us for that reason. They've chosen us to come through because of who we are and how we can help foster that light in them.
Yeah.
And I know for a long time, we would kind of come into this world and be misunderstood, just like your son is being misunderstood. And it causes us to kind of close off and found these abilities. And I mean, I talk to people all the time about enhancing their intuition and these natural given abilities. All kids are so open. I mean, your son is so open. My son's super sensitive, but he lights up a room when he walks in. Everyone's like, who is this child? And like, he wants to touch and feel, and he's sensitive as well. Like one of his preschool teachers is like, when we're doing circle time, he's like, I want to listen. He asks the children to like quiet down in his own way. And when I was even pregnant with him, which I don't know if you felt this when you were pregnant with your kids, but you get a sense of their energy when you're carrying them as well. And so your son clearly chose you for such a great reason. Yes, this is perfect. My child is exactly the same way. He's 20 now, so my whole life saying he's an observer, he watches, he feels deeply with situation is or isn't, and then decides to his involvement level.
I love that you shared that, because I mean, I found it natural to parent him, because I would classify myself as sensitive as well, like in that temperament zone 100%. And the cool thing is that the research shows that when children like that are parented by parents who are empathetic, who give space to that, who actually encourage it and don't squash it, they grow up to bring those gifts into the world rather than feeling like they're being squashed. And rather than, a lot of times too, the negative sides of the sensitivity can, if they haven't had empathy and they haven't had that kind of supportive environment, that becomes more the driver of the trait, the anxiety and the overthinking, rather than what could actually be the gift of it.
Got it. And I mean, surely if their parents are sensitive, it's going to help them to learn how to manage it and to, like, I mean, for me, like, I can't be this like open channel everywhere all the time. I get, like you said, you get hit with it, you take on energy, and I'm like, yep.
Yeah.
So it's like you have to be able to know how to kind of close it off in certain situations. But like when you're at home with your family, you could be wide open. And it's a safe environment. So, and Heather was just saying about her son, I'm honored I could teach him that it's okay to just be him and look for others like him and don't feel like you have to change.
Love that.
Yeah. And I think about resiliency. So part of your resiliency has come from overcoming your cancer diagnosis, but also stepping up as a mother in a whole different way, and your own resilience. And like you had just mentioned, it's not like changing what people think of courage, which is acting even when you are afraid. And I think that as entrepreneurs, like that's everything, because I'm sorry, I couldn't grow my business if I just did everything I was comfortable with. I am massively uncomfortable most of the time, but I've learned how to be sort of used to and comfortable with the discomfort, and knowing like there's light at the end of the tunnel. And you know, there's a fair amount of like balance of, is this draining my energy because it's so hard, or is it lighting me up because I know that there's something better that's coming through it?
Absolutely. It's such a core skill in like, definitely in business, in life, is this ability to navigate challenge. Because like you said, any type of growth happens outside of our comfort zone. It doesn't happen where we feel fully awesome all the time.
Right.
And so it's like, it's learning how to navigate challenge. And some of us, we do this intuitively. A lot of people have the wrong idea about resilience. They think it's like this, like shut down, like nothing affects me, like I'm strong regardless of what I go through. And that's not resiliency. Resiliency is actually a bounce back, which means that in its definition, it's that you feel pushed over at times. And so those initial negative emotions that you feel, and the feeling of being like under something, or that's not a bad thing that you're experiencing that stuff like in that moment. It's a human experience, and those feelings are actually trying to tell you something. They're there to give you a message. I think you should be concerned if you don't feel those things. If you have a nut back and you don't feel sad, like, let's be honest, that's probably more like a sociopath doesn't experience emotions. So like the fact that you experience that's a good thing, it's a normal thing, it's a healthy thing, but it's how long you stay there for, and then do you have the resources and tools to come back. And I think coming back to children again, the World Health Organization is predicting that in the next 10 years, that depression is going to be the leading cause of disability worldwide, which means that someone's struggling with it so much that they cannot work, they can't think properly. And so I think this is to be aware that this is the world that our children are growing up in. Can you hear me? I feel like I'm just clicking off.
Yeah, it cut off for a second, but I can hear you fine.
Oh, you can hear me. Yeah, our children, yeah, I can hear you now, just. Is that me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, so our children are growing up in like a very different world. And so I think I love what you're doing with your community, because you've got people here who are parenting on purpose, they're teaching on purpose, because the natural system at the moment, the focus just on academic achievement or, you know, success in athletics or whatever it is, it's not enough to equip our children for what they actually need for their future.
Totally. So I want to talk a little bit about the book and how it prepares children, because I personally, So Sarah's got this amazing book out, and it's teaching children through the story about resilience and about courage. And I plan to get a copy for my sons now that I have another one on the way.
So exciting, yes.
I know.
So good. They're going to be best mates.
I know. And you know, it's great because it's funny. So I'll get back on track. But feeling his energy is different than when I was with my first son.
Yeah.
And it's like part of it is for me, and there's like maybe it's way too woo-woo for some people, but not here, not in this tribe. But I tap into his energy, and you know, with my son Tristan, I tapped in and asking him like who he is, what's he like, what's his personality, and I just kept feeling like he's so sweet. And that's like the one word that people always use to describe. And with this one, like he's got that sweetness and that tenderness as well, but he really craves to have his own identity and not to be Kristen's brother. And and so it's really interesting. So yes, I'm getting a copy for my kids. Cool. And I actually was thinking I'm going to buy a copy for our local library, because I think it'd be great donation for our local library and for other kids to be able to sort of kind of give it forward and keep letting kids to sort of see this kind of messaging, because it's so powerful. And I really think that there's more little bright light workers coming into this planet right now, and it's important to be able to nurture that in them.
Thank you, Emily. Yeah. So our first book's called The Boy Who Stood Up Tall, and it's about, well, you'll see the pictures of my son. It's been hand painted, but not by me, by someone who can actually paint. But the story is about this little boy with a sensitive soul who learns to overcome his fears. And so there's three main messages about fear in it. The first one is that courage isn't something you feel, it's something that you do. So even when you're feeling scared and your heart's racing and your hands are shaking, you're still brave if you can stand up to the fears that you're facing. And so that's one of the main messages in the book. The second one is, the second message of the book is that when you physically stand up tall, it causes you to feel more courageous. There's all this research in psychology that says if you stand in kind of a power pose or stand up tall, shoulders back for only 2 minutes, it changes your internal hormone profile. It increases your testosterone, lowers your cortisol, which they believe to be the best hormone profile to feel calm and confident under pressure. And so just teaching our children simple things like that can actually help them to feel more courageous. And then the third thing that it teaches is, and this is something that we all learn in business, is that as you actually stand up to your fears, you grow bigger than what's scaring you. And it's not that necessarily the situation changes, but your capacity changes. And I think for us, so this is the children's book. It's The Boy Who Stood Up Tall. The other thing that we're doing with the book, though, is that when someone purchases the book, they get automatic access to an online training like library. So really short 3-minute videos on these topics, so that what we're wanting to do is not just put a book in a parent and child's hands. We want to put a resource in a family to help empower them with all these topics of sensitivity and growing in courage and bravery and resilience.
I love that. It's such a gift. I mean, it's most of the time it's like we're happy just to get the book, but this is a whole other network and a whole other community. And I think as a new parent 3 years ago almost, I never realized how much community was so important to me to thrive as a new mother, and to, you know, maybe commiserate some days or celebrate other days. And it's just it's just so important. So I love that you're fostering a community for families, not just like having this book. I think it's incredible.
Thanks, Emily.
So Bronwyn, you're welcome. So Bronwyn, she's a good friend of mine. She said, so much love for this and incredibly, but not surprisingly, exact story I needed to hear today.
Oh, love that.
Awesome. Yay. Love
you
it.
have a beautiful community,
great.
Emily. I'll come hang out here anytime.
I know. They are the best. So, and I meant to do this. We tried to do this on my business page, and it just, it wouldn't have it. So that's okay. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to download a video and I'll post it onto my business page. But we have another special gift from Sarah, which she's going to come back over the weekend on Tuesday to do Takeover Tuesday next week, which for those of you who aren't familiar, it's essentially in a way for people from our community to share their gifts and inspire other people within the group. So Sarah's going to be back talking about resiliency, and certainly I posted the link a couple times here in this thread. And if you need some more help with how to get it and how to be part of Sarah's community, because obviously she's so beautiful and heart-centered, and who doesn't want to be her? And of course, the people that she attracts. I mean, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
So she'll be back on Tuesday right here inside the group to share some more about resiliency. And certainly we can talk more about our kids. I know like somebody had called my son a rainbow child, and like there's certain terms from like these like woo-woo realms that like these kids are being put on this planet to bring light.
Oh, wow.
Right. And somebody, actually I think I have it in the other room, but somebody had drawn a picture of his aura like when he was a little boy, and they're like, you know, he's definitely like this more of a red, like pinkish aura. And the funniest thing, oh, and by the way, pink or red auras, they tend to calm better in like yellow colors, which his room is like pale butter yellow. I'm like,
yeah.
Possible. I wanted to paint it. I was like, ha ha ha. Like he was like speaking to me already. But one of the things that she was saying is that he's so heart-centered and so loving. I'm like, that's totally him. So it's just great to have the. I can't wait to have this book and to be a part of this community. I'm so excited.
Oh, thank you, Emily. Yeah, I totally agree. I think there are so many children. I think all children are here to bring light, and I think that's all our purpose here on this planet. And it's just that unfortunately sometimes that gets squashed or pushed down. So I love what you're doing, and thank you for having me.
Yeah. Thank you. It's been such a pleasure. So if you guys have any questions for Sarah, where can they find you besides where I'm sharing this link again right now, but where else can they find you in your amazingness?
Yeah, so probably social media is the easiest way. So whether on Facebook or Instagram, this project for children is called Resilient Little Hearts. It's a little bit hard to spell, but Resilient Little Hearts. Or I'm on Facebook or Instagram as Sarah Boyd, Boyd. Hope that makes sense, because my accent, I'm realizing here in the States, sometimes doesn't translate.
I understand you perfectly fine.
Okay, cool. Because sometimes I'm at the grocery store and talking to people and they're like, what is it that you're saying? Anyway.
I think I've heard worse accents that I'm like, you're going to have to say that again. I just
don't. Okay, cool.
But also Sarah's a good right, yeah. Sarah's a good friend. Her and her husband, Colin, they're in a mastermind group that I just joined this year. I know you guys have heard me talking a lot about how much I love it and the people in it. It's an amazing place, and I'm so lucky to have crossed paths with Sarah. Oh, my screen just totally froze. I feel so fortunate to cross paths with Sarah.
Froze for a sec.
This is only the beginning of our friendship. Sorry.
Absolutely.
Sorry,
I love that, Emily.
Sometimes when
You've frozen again.
I know. It's like sometimes when there's lots of coming through, it like breaks technology. So there we go.
Yeah, it does.
Again. Okay. Oh my God. And before we came on here, Sarah was joking that her husband teases her that she breaks all like technology. But
I'm going to use that. Yeah. I'm going to say that next time. I'm going to say it's because I have so much light coming through me that the technology can't deal with it.
That's exactly it. I've a lot of audio meditations, and whenever I record them, my computer like crashes, the system shuts down, it stops recording.
There you go.
So it's because you're so vibrant.
It is. That's the reason. That's the actual reason.
It is. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for being here and sharing your light with us. And I can't wait to have you back on Tuesday. I usually hop on in the morning, but because you're 3 hours behind, you just hop on whenever you can and share some more of this good stuff.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Emily. I really appreciate
it. My pleasure. Have a great weekend.
You too. Bye.
Bye.